Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our review for 007 First Light. Bond is a bullet without a target. Let's give him one. Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Shelton, Nate Shelton, and this is our review of 007 First Light, an MI6-sized thanks to our friends at PlayStation Canada and IO Interactive for providing codes so we could play the game and have this discussion. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, games, and all things Geekcentric and all things Bond. James Bond. Today, I'm joined by my fellow MI agent. He's the bullet-dodging, deadly and daring 00 Darcy, the high-stakes, helicopter hijacking, henchman-harming Hudson.
Hello.
Are you harming those henchmen?
I mean, yeah. I try to go as under the radar as possible, but if there's some in my way, I will take them out to get the job done, you know?
Of course. And have you been in a helicopter?
No, I have not. I'm actually kind of terrified of those.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They seem more unsafe than planes, so I'm going to stay away from them, I think.
It's true. There's been
strong wind does a lot more to a helicopter than a plane.
Yes. And it's just like, it's too small, I need to be in a big aircraft if I'm going to be.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Darcy, we are a little late to this one, but we had to talk about it. We had to talk about this fantastic game. Before we get into our thoughts on this game and dive deep into spoiler-free and spoiler-filled conversation, we're going to kind of have a little bit of both this time around. I wanted to ask, what is your relationship with Dame James Bond, Dame Judi Dench, who's part of, I think she's in there somewhere. What is your relationship with 007 and this franchise, the movies, the games, the books? I don't know.
Well, specifically the movies are where my longest connection to the franchise comes from. I think it actually might have Harry Potter beat. Kevin was a huge fan of Roger Moore. That was his Bond growing up, so he was very excited to show me and Kelly some of his favorite movies, and me and Kelly instantly latched on, being younger brothers looking up to our cool older brother who was showing us this awesome spy movie with tall, henchmen with silver teeth that are razor sharp. So we always liked watching that stuff. The softest, as Kevin says, of the Bonds was probably Roger Moore. But then as we got older, he showed us again the Connery. My Bond personally is Brosnan.
Yeah.
That was the one that I remember going to theaters for and just absolutely loving every second of those movies. So yeah, I mean, James Bond has been a huge part of my life for a while, it seems.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think I'm there with you in the Brosnan thing. I think my earliest memories of the franchise are a mix of Pierce Brosnan films and like GoldenEye on the N64, followed by, I think EA had a pretty legendary run with some of their games, Agent Under Fire, and then I think Everything or Nothing was another one with Willem Dafoe in it or something like that. Like I think they really they got the sort of goofy 2000s era charm to them, those games, and like really got those set pieces really, really well done. I never played any of the games featuring Daniel Craig, but I loved all the Daniel Craig movies. I think Skyfall is probably at the height of my James Bond moviedom, and that's probably like that's like a cold take at this point, but I think Skyfall, all the way up to No Time to Die. I really enjoyed No Time to Die in 2021. I was looking it up, Darcy. That movie came out in 2021 was the last time we had a Bond movie. So that's crazy. And I think what's even crazier is, given everything we've just mentioned, right? Even naming 4 or 5 games, up 9 or 10 Bond movies, I would still consider both of us casual James Bond fans in comparison to people that have been following this for, I mean, this thing's been around for what, the 50s was when the novel came out?
I believe is when the first novel was written, was in the late 50s. I could be wrong about that.
Unbelievable. Ian Fleming coming out with that book, and then there's I think there's so much more involved to be truly considered a hardcore fan
Hmm.
on the franchise. But I think no matter, where you fall on that spectrum, there is so much to love with 007 First Light. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off with a synopsis. 007 First Light is a thrilling narrative action adventure game developed and published by IO Interactive. After a heroic act, young naval air crewman James Bond is offered to join the newly revived 00 program. But when a mission to stop a rogue agent ends in tragedy, he must join forces with his reluctant mentor Greenway to expose a deep conspiracy and stop a looming coup at the heart of the state. Follow James Bond as a young, resourceful, and sometimes reckless recruit in MI6's training program and discover an origin story of the world's most famous spy. The game stars Patrick Gibson, Lenny James, Priyanka Burford, Alistair Mackenzie, Kiera Lester, Lenny Kravitz, Gemma Chan, and Noemi Nakai. Also features KB Lame, Jacksepticeye, and Shroud, which we'll get into maybe if you found those lovely folks in this game. I only found, I think, one of them. But let's talk about it. 007 First Light is available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC with a Nintendo Switch 2 port. Apparently, it says summer, and we're in the summer. So hopefully soon. We'll have to wait and see. I heard there was some rumblings that it wasn't performing to the level that they wanted it to in early tests. So hopefully we'll get to see that on Switch 2 at some point. As I said, we're a little late to this review, but we've now both beaten the game and can talk about it and review it to the best of our abilities. Before we get deeper, Darcy, how long did it take you to finish the campaign?
I think I clocked in around 21 hours, something like that. I can't remember. That's what the home screen says, at least, is 21 when I logged out or finally beaten it. So
Yeah.
not too long, but
Yeah.
good length.
Yeah. I finished the game over like 5 days of play sessions, and then it was like 19 hours, I think, or somewhere around probably the 20-hour mark for the campaign. My clock shows 25 hours. I did spend some time in the tax sim missions, which I'll be bringing up at some point. But listen, we are going to go into full spoilers for this discussion. But just before we do, before you leave, I know I can hear you taking your headphones off. Put those headphones back on, because I got a mission for you, and that is to at least listen to our spoiler-free impressions of the game. Darcy, why don't you just share your spoiler-free impressions before we get really deep? And I'm not going to ask for a score just yet. We'll get to that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really fun game. I mean, if anyone is familiar with the IO Hitman games or even the Uncharted series, you're going to feel kind of at home playing this game with the cinematic level of gameplay. You're playing through a movie bit, basically, just with the countless options available in a Hitman game where there are so many paths and routes for you to take. So it's a really fun entry into James Bond. And I mean, there are so many times during this game that you feel like James Bond, even whether it's a small little thing you do or, again, one of those big action set pieces. Every part of it is really adding to the character and making you feel like you are the spy, you are 007.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where I would jump in there. Is like, this game made me feel like James Bond more than anything I've ever watched or played or experienced before. And I think, more than GoldenEye, more than the EA titles that I mentioned, I think this is single-handedly the best representation of what it means to be 007, to be James Bond specifically. And I think it's got such an engaging story, to the point where I would actually give the writers of the next Bond film a bit of pause, maybe, and it might give them a bit of a run for their money, just given how good this story is. It's got the elements you'd want from Bond, the expected things like gadgets, and there's some lady charming going on, and big action set pieces like you mentioned, Darcy. And it's fused with stealth elements and also how you deal with mistakes. And there's some really deep, engaging characters that I really grew to love throughout this campaign. The music is pitch perfect. And the gameplay mechanics, again, like you're saying, they find a way to make you really feel like Bond. You mentioned the Hitman series, of course, the Uncharted series. I think it takes the best things of both of those and skews it more towards what is right for this character of
Mm-hmm.
James Bond. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if you enjoy a great moment to moment action storytelling single player game, even if you are even more of a casual Bond fan as we are, maybe you've only seen a few of the Daniel Craig movies, I still think that there's an argument to be made to absolutely recommend and play this game. It is my favorite game of the year so far for me. I can see definitely arguments to be made for things like Saros and Pocopia and Forza Horizon 6, and there's this year is been pretty good so far for games, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to get
Mm-hmm.
better with Wolverine and GTA 6 on the horizon, right? So but I just think this one really worked for me. We're going to now dive in and go in full depth, full spoiler warning at this point. Probably more spoilers when it comes to the story stuff. But we're going to kind of dig into it here. So if you haven't finished the game, now is your chance to go do so, and then come right back to listen to the rest of this review. I think we should start with I think it's funny. I've been talking to multiple friends of mine about the ideas of what do I look for in a game? And I think back in the EA days of the 007 games, it would go graphics, then story, then gameplay. And that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely shifted up for me now, where graphics is probably at the bottom of my list. But I think that might be a good place to start, would be how this game looks, how it performs. And I'd also like to talk about the music. Darcy, I want you to kick it off. What did you play this on? Did you play it on a PS5 or PS5 Pro? And how did you find the visuals and performance of this game?
I mean, I like how you ask. I don't have a PS5, man. I'm
I
not all
just want to
fancy
double
like
check.
you over here. Yeah, no, I played on the PS5. Just again, I don't even have a fancy enough TV to take advantage of the true 4K. So
Mhm.
nothing like that, just 1080p or anything like that, but or something like that. But it looked great. Like, I mean, modern games compared to what we grew up playing look fantastic. So I'm not really picky when it comes to graphics. I never have been, but this one I had no issues running it, which is a big thing for me. Like when the when old consoles, you got to the end of that life cycle, you got a new game, there would be moments where it chugged and you'd see some juddering and stuff wouldn't load in. I never had that happen during
Yeah.
the course of this gameplay, which is to me the biggest thing. That's the most that takes me out of it, is when the world stops looking consistent, and it was consistent the whole way through, which was huge for me. So again, that's a big plus. And again, I we're spoiled by games now. I think people look for the too much that our eyes probably can't notice how good some of the stuff is. So I don't know. I think it was good.
Yeah, I mean, huge kudos to IO Interactive for being able to scale this game to the highest end of PCs. To the PS5 is it's aged. It came out what was it, 5 years ago, or,
6 years
or
ago,
six
yeah.
years ago, something along those lines. And so for them to be able to scale that and have it run perfectly fine there, but also on I played it on PS5 Pro, and yeah, dude, every step of the way, I think this looked, to the degree that it lives up with some of the best films in the franchise from a visual
Mm-hmm.
standpoint. You know what I mean? And I don't think there was at any point in time where the animations ever took me out. I think a lot of times about, the Bethesda games, or even, I'm playing the Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, again,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing sometimes the character models like flip and flop around after you've taken them out or what have you. I didn't really see too many moments of that in this game that would take me out. I think the lighting in this game is so good. The sound design is so good. I want to bring up,
Mm-hmm.
there's a moment in the web gala in chapter 6 where there's a singer singing in front of a band, like a lounge singer almost, but like with a big orchestra band behind her. And the fact that they take the time to not only animate her body movement, but to synchronize her mouth to the song, to synchronize her face to the way that it would be when she's singing aloud the various songs, probably 3 or 4 songs that she gets to sing in that moment. This is a background NPC. And the fact that IO Interactive was able to, like you said, all the little things that we probably missed, on a first run of this game. Getting to just sort of stop for a second, and I just looked up and watched her sing like a couple of songs, and she's moving perfectly. She everything's timed perfectly. I just thought it was so impressive.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the attention to detail in this game is insane. I mean, it was like the Hitman games where they would go out of their way to show these people in a natural environment where they're having a smoke or taking a break or something like that, like talking about their coworkers. Like you overhear so many little conversations that have literally nothing to do with the story. But if you just stand there, they'll go on for 5-10 minutes, just consistently building this world and making it feel like you're just dropping into a party and no one knows what's going on except for you and the people you're trying to track down, which really adds to the whole James Bond spy element of it all, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, like, I don't think I caught too many repeated NPCs. There probably were some, but I just don't remember catching too many of them. I also want to bring up the music in this game. Oh my gosh, dude. It is absolutely phenomenal. UK duo The Flight, that's Joe Henson and Alexis Smith, did the overall score for this game, and it just hits every single time, flowing with like just enough of that sort of James Bond from all the different eras. Like they're pulling from all the different, various films that I've gotten. As I said, I've watched the Brosnan and the Daniel Craig era, but I've gone back and seen scenes from the previous run of.
Gotta watch it all, man. There's some gold in those old movies, man.
I gotta go back and
yeah.
The people with the teeth, you said, the silver
Jaws. He's Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, Roger Moore. Okay. He is my first Bond. So
I gotta get it. I gotta go back. But hearing the way that they're using that orchestration and at the same time, they never overuse that main Bond theme. It feels like, throughout this game as James Bond, you're earning your 00 status. You don't have it yet, right? And it feels like you're having to earn the theme song alongside your status.
Yes, it just, again, you hear the hints of it as you're becoming the spy, but the only time you really get that big hit is during the climax when you are becoming the eponymous James Bond. You are becoming 007, and it hits so well because, again, the teases leading up to it just make you want it all that more, and when it finally happens, it hits so well. And like you said, just over the course of this, they're pulling from all the eras of Bond and all the composers who have given Bond a sound, and the fact that it all meshed together so perfectly throughout the course of this game is, again, we're playing through one of like the best of in the Bond movies or Bond tropes type thing, and I love it.
Yeah, and not only does this game make you feel like James Bond so much, I also kind of felt like I was one of the composers in this game based off of the way the music transitions from moment to moment. Like it feels at times like you're not just controlling James Bond, you're controlling the music by moving into action, into stealth, into different moments. And it doesn't feel ever like clunky. It feels so seamless the way the music goes through. It's so diverse. I want to bring up the club sequence where you're going through the club mission. The music is done by Chase and Status, and the DualSense thumping in your hand, like even more of a reason to play this game on PlayStation.
Which also, it got stronger as you got closer to, like, not only that, like, it's just like they added depth to the vibration. And that's how much they cared about making this feel like a real club.
So good, so good. And by the way, the club is where I found what's his name?
Jacksepticeye. Sean, yeah.
Yes. I've seen the videos of Cabby Lame.
I missed Sean. I found Cabby Lame at the resort, just walking around, and then you go by one of the signs, and it's just like, hey, do you know where like the one place you're looking for is? And he's just like points at the sign, doing the whole thing, because the sign is just the only thing on the sign is Lotus thing this way. You're like, oh, I guess I could have read the sign.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'll have to go back and see if I can find Shroud. I did not find Shroud, but with the music as well, again, it is so diverse, and that feeling of like just going through and hearing different elements. There's even like a jazzy element at one point when it comes to, I think the moment when you walk into Q's lab and it's just him. He's
Mm-hmm.
listening to a song here by the Cro-Magnon band, which I had to look up, called Bad
Cro-Magnon.
Shape.
Cro-Magnon, I think.
Cro-Magnon.
I think you hit the
Dude,
G.
dude, it is. I immediately was like, I got to download all this discography from this entire band because I want to feel like Q, living in my little 1-bedroom apartment situation and just like, invite friends over and have that playing in the background. But no, I think, again, all the way to the big 007 theme that they did. They did a new theme. They brought David Arnold back, who is the main composer of like the majority of the 007 music that you think of, alongside Lana Del Rey. Darcy, we get that moment right at the beginning of the game. James says, "I'm not MI6," and then that massive explosion into the opener, into the traditional sort of opening for a James Bond film. I wanted to ask, what did you think of the main theme that Lana and David brought out?
Well, I mean, it's a good Bond theme, but I personally am tired of the pop star ballads. Some of my favorite Bond themes are like the Chris Cornell, can't remember the name of his, or
Yeah.
Paul McCartney. Like I like the more rock oriented, or the earlier themes. I don't know. The last one I really enjoyed was Skyfall. So I mean,
Yeah.
it fits the tone perfectly for this game. It sets the stage for a Bond game. I'm just kind of over the ballad with the insert pop star here of the time. So yeah, I mean. I have long hair and like metal, so maybe I'm not the right person to ask about the theme song for Bond.
I think it achieved what it needed to achieve. Did it blow me out of the water like the first time I heard Skyfall?
Yeah.
No, it did not. Right. And that's fine. It did what it needed to do. And hopefully, in future iterations of these games, we can try again with someone else. And maybe it's a metal singer of your choice. But
just even alternative. Just give me a dude for once. Go back to a dude. Like it doesn't always have to be a chick.
Sure. But yeah, nothing's gonna beat Adele for me. One thing I will say, just from a performance standpoint, before we move into maybe talking about some of the gameplay and the mechanics, is, as I said, I played it locked 60 FPS on PS5 Pro. It was so smooth for the most part. I think we got to start playing this game, or at least I started playing this game about a day or so before it came out. And I'm sure they've patched it by now a few times. I think even while I was playing, I saw them patching it a little bit.
Yes.
But there were definitely moments when we get to the I think they're colloquially called monster closet sequences. The sequences where you're basically stuck and you have to do a firefight to move forward, right? Which doesn't happen too often in this game, but definitely does happen often enough. And it was always in those sequences when tons of stuff was going on. I think it happened probably about 8 to 9 times during my playthrough where it would freeze and the game would just completely stop, frozen, and make a loud noise and then turn off. And I don't know if it was just on me. I haven't heard it, too much around in terms of the game crashing. It's funny because you seem like you maybe didn't have that problem on your base PS5.
Nope.
So nope. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was. And again, your results may vary when you go through and play this game.
Yeah.
But other than those crashes, yeah, it was smooth. It ran so well and just flowed so well. I want to get into the mechanics of the game and talk about the ways in which this game uses those mechanics to further emphasize being James Bond. I wanted to kind of kick things off. I know you and I kind of had a brief discussion about the game while you were playing it, and I wanted to ask you about the combat mechanics of the game, both from a fisticuff standpoint and a shooty standpoint. Darcy, what did you think of the combat in 007 First Light?
The shooty was fine, great. I mean, I played on normal and it was challenging enough that once you die a few times, you get the flow of things, know where people are popping up, you can get through it.
Yeah.
The combat fisticuffs, I have issues when they design a parry system or blocking system that is focused on one attacker, and then they throw 3 or 4 attackers at you, and once you're focused on one, you can't block another one. So
Mm-hmm.
I found myself getting stuck in a corner with 4 guys and not being able, missing one block, but then 3 other guys who I couldn't start blocking because I missed that first one. I just get it, so many times I was frustratingly banging my table, walking away from the game, being like, I gotta stop right now. It's so annoying. Like, it's just, this is not a game where it's got good melee combat. I was never expecting that, but the story points where you're blocked behind these things really got on my nerves, because it was very much like you got to perfectly line up these guys so they're not attacking you at the same time, which is very easy to do because they have the same attack pattern. And I don't know, it's just, the melee was not for me.
Yeah. I didn't find myself as frustrated by those moments, but I will say there were a number of times where if I did get stuck in a situation and it didn't go my way and Bond's getting the living shit beat out of him, there were moments where I remember I would like restart. I would restart checkpoint because I'm like, no. Even if I get through this fight, this is not how I want my Bond to get through this fight or in this moment, in my own head canon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, if you're listening to this at this point, I don't think we've really spoiled too much for you. And so, if you are listening to this and you are looking to play the game, I would recommend letting them beat you to death, which is a crazy sentence to say, but I would, because when you restart from checkpoint, there were moments where it brought me back way too far. I would go back about 10 minutes of gameplay at times where it didn't feel like that would be a natural checkpoint that I would have been brought back to. So just let them take you out, because for some reason that reset is much closer to maybe where you left off. I will say, I think, when I talk about this game feeling so much like being James Bond, there are 2 major things that I want to highlight. One of them being the bluff mechanic. The bluff mechanic I thought was so cool in this game. The first time I noticed it was walking around the big mansion. This is where we really get into spoilers, but the section where Monroe is killed, basically that
the hotel.
mansion,
it's not even a mansion.
The hotel, or yes, it was a hotel. And I remember, I was walking around and I overheard one of the staff saying that how old the building was. And I noticed the little bluff mechanic number. This is the first time I ever noticed it, went ticked up by 3. And I was like, whoa, okay, interesting. And then I was sneaking around. I went outside the building, wrapped around, went into a window to look into a room, and I got caught by this guy. And I immediately clicked the bluff option, and he goes, "Building inspector, I'm here to check the building for mold." And immediately that guy was like, of course, the building's so old, that makes sense. And I just remember feeling so freaking cool. Like, it felt so damn cool to be able to use something like that, because the character of James Bond is a character that thinks on their feet. Right, they're not as methodical as someone like an Agent 47, right? And especially a young James Bond, he's making mistakes, and the fact that you can lie your way out of them is just so freaking cool.
Well, I mean, even a talented James Bond will get caught and lie his way out of it. That is kind of the charm of James Bond. He is just so charismatic that he can talk his way out of a situation if he knows the right info, which again is fantastic with the bluff thing. But again, one of the cooler mechanics I thought, like building off that bluff thing, was bringing that the hitman mentality, where there's so many routes to go about these missions, where it's like, okay, you need to get here, but how you get there is up to you. And then, like you said, you're walking around, you overhear people, there are certain rooms you get into where you'll get a piece of information that leads you a certain direction. And it's just like the replayability for each of these missions seems so vast, because I feel like there are at least 3 or 4, if not more, for every one of these major chapter missions, where there are so many different ways you can go about doing it, and you could experience the game entirely different every time you play. I mean, the fact that, I remember we were talking about the training mission earlier. You mentioned that there is a way to, before you start that final mission, if you just walk past everyone, you can kind of just hop one fence and grab the flag, and you beat it before it even starts, which is
so funny.
Do the unexpected, which is what they're always beating into you in that training thing, which is so cool. And I'm like, I want to go back and see, are there other things I can do, knowing how I need to get there? Can I skip some of these steps that I've worked through? Like, can I just luck my way into a speed run of the game type thing? Like, I don't know. I'm excited to play this again, which doesn't happen often for story games.
Dude, the speed run of this game is going to go crazy once we start seeing that pop off. And you mentioned the training montage. This is the single best implementation of a training montage I've
in a
ever
video game
played.
Oh my god! Oh yeah,
unreal. unbelievable. I was
So
going through
cool.
it, and as it was happening, I'm like, wait a minute. How to a degree where it actually reminded me of WarioWare at a certain point, where WarioWare is giving you all these little challenges and goes goes quicker and quicker and quicker. And this game felt like that in the training montage. So cool. I also wanted to bring up the other thing that really made me feel like James Bond, which is the stealth mechanics in the game from the standpoint of as I mentioned, Agent 47 is methodical. He stalks his prey, right? And I think one of the things that I immediately noticed in this game is how it deals with getting caught, right? We mentioned the bluff mechanic, but there's also fisticuff and
Mm-hmm.
fighting your way out of it. And the coolest thing that I loved is, I think in a lot of stealth games, one of two things usually happens when you get caught. Either the mission starts over because you got caught,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to go guns blazing, and that's
And
not
there's no
exactly
resetting it. Yeah.
right. And it's not exactly how it was intended, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
reset that. Here, if you get caught, you take out the one guy with the walkie-talkie and then his two other little dudes beside him, and you keep it quiet, mischief managed, or whatever they say.
Situation contained.
Situation contained. Right. And it's boom, like you're right back to the stealth, and it felt so cool. It feels so good.
Yeah, again, James Bond is very reactive in the way that he goes about his missions. It's he deals with anything that pops up as it arises, and this game is so good at capturing that and giving you the options to do so many things out of this. Like when you get caught, you can bluff your way, you can fight, you can just run away, type thing. Like there are options for every level of this game, which just adds to the immersive feeling of you really becoming James Bond, which is cool.
And I want to bring up the Q Watch. I think going back to those EA days, and I might even bring them up again in just another moment with another point. But going back to that, the gadgets are always such a big deal, especially in the early 2000s, sort of cheesy. And I know they get cheesier as you go even further back in time, from what I've heard and from what you've mentioned with Shark Teeth Men. But I think getting to create your loadout was cool. I will say I don't think I ever found too much of a like a strategic element in creating my loadout. It didn't feel like it was as rewarding. I kind of went with a lot of the same things over and over again, which I appreciate that they give you the options, but it didn't ever feel like I was like, oh, good, I made the right choice to get this specific gadget for my Q Watch.
So I did notice that a few times where I
Okay.
picked my loadout just based on what I liked, and then I went and started the mission, and I was like, oh, I can't get through this one route I found because I don't have the laser right now, or like I didn't have the smoke bomb, so I can get through
cool.
without detecting. So I noticed there is stuff. It's just it wasn't as like in your face or overt. Like I feel like there was very subtle. Like I said, only when I went the one route that I noticed I need a laser to get through this route. So I wanted to go back and do that because I'm like, that's the route I found. I want to go with that one. But outside of that, like if you get, I feel like every level was adapted to the point where if you picked anything, you could still get through it. So it wasn't like they were holding things back. It's just certain routes I think are kind of locked behind the gadgets that are very like obscure almost.
But there were two moments where the Q Watch for me really hit. One I want to talk about with you, but the other one I'm going to eat up all by myself right now, which is, it was just that, because it's a personal thing. I don't think you may, I don't know if you experienced it. It was on Bavma's Island or whatever, that whole compound.
Aleph or Aleph, whatever you want to say.
Aleph, yeah. And there's a moment where I think they're trying to teach you how to dodge, because there's a part where you're kind of shocked. You're surprised by this big guy that comes out of nowhere and is going to tackle you, and you're supposed to dodge.
Yeah.
But what did I do? I panicked and accidentally hit the stun dart on the Q Watch. The guy goes completely stiff, face down like a comedy of some kind, and then James just shakes his little head and he sort of walks it off, and completely unintentional, so hilarious, and the kind of humor that I would expect from the James Bond franchise. And it just happened to happen for me. It wasn't something that was planned. And I love that can happen in a game like this that does feel so structured, does feel so sort of, as you said, it's giving us multiple ways to get through these things, but it is a linear narrative, right? And so having that moment, and it was something that I got to experience, was like, this is incredible. This is so, so good.
Well, I'm just kicking myself now for never thinking to use the watch in some of those melee fights, because I know there are some where they take away your gadgets, but there are others where you definitely have them, and I'd use my lenses and then wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself for that now. Thank you for bringing
Well,
that to my
now
attention.
you can go back and try it again in a different way. And then the other one I want to talk about with you is the Q Lab mission. With
Oh
Damien is
yeah.
coming in with his goons, they're storming in, and you've got the whole lab to yourself.
As soon as you go into that lab and you look at all the stuff and the way you can get your batteries from, like, okay, there's going to be a fight in this room at some point. I just, the way it's designed, we will be shooting people or something. I'll be sneaking around this lab, and when it happens, my God, that is like the coolest thing ever. Just the way I'm like, I need to use all the gadgets. I'm going to lure everyone to every corner of this lab and find every possible way to take out these baddies because it is so much fun.
So good. And I think in a sequel and talking about the creativity of the Q Watch, I would love to see maybe just a little bit more of that. There were some moments throughout, right, where you're shooting a vacuum to distract people. You're shooting, different things in your environment. But I think it would be really cool if we kind of got that a little bit more of that cheesy kookiness of that specific Q Lab mission. And if they held back on it to make that mission feel even that much more impactful, that's totally fine, but I would love a little bit more of that. I want to bring up something that really kind of didn't fully work with me as much or work for me as much as I think they have the potential to do, and that would be hopefully they amp this up in a sequel, but it would be the driving. I think it was so sick to get behind the wheel for the few times. I think it's like 3 times throughout the game. But it never felt as good or as fun and as fast as the EA more car centric 007 games of the early 2000s, where you're shooting, from your car and different things like that. I think it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, and you definitely do get that thrill during that one chase that you do in the outside of that mansion, but
Mm-hmm.
or that hotel. But I just felt like vehicles and driving fast and all the gadgets that go along onto a vehicle, it feels like such an important part of the Bond franchise that does feel like it was like maybe it just held back a little bit, right? And maybe they're doing that on purpose, but
Well, I mean, it's really hard to try, and you're doing two games basically when you're doing a really good, stealth assassin shooter game type thing, and then trying to do a driving game on top of that. So I understand why it was more reserved, and like they tried to hold it back and do it in a way that kind of was only for that to nail that James Bond aspect. I mean, specifically the fact that the one time you get in that souped up car, you don't actually leave a small square area. You're just using the weapons on it to take out bad guys. And that,
yeah.
to me, was like, I can't wait to go on the road with this. It's gonna be cool. Give me some of those, like, again, Spy Hunter feels from like those early arcade games and video games where it is just the James Bond car scenes or like vehicle scenes basically as a game. So like it did leave me wanting a bit more, but I understand why it wasn't as like over the top or as polished, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see them collaborate with like Criterion or something from the printout, devs or whatever, right? Like just
Yeah.
do something with them to be like, yeah, we partnered with them for the driving moments in the next one. But the last thing I want to bring up with gameplay, and then we'll talk about story and performances in this game. I did want to bring up the tac sim stuff. Did you try any of the tactical simulations?
I have not. No, I've been, and one of the reasons why it took us so long to get to the review is because I've been crazy busy this summer, and
Mhm.
so the fact that I beat the game was enough that I'm like, let's just get into this review. I'll do the taxim at some point. I know we're getting
Totally.
updates before the whole Bavma story coming out, so I will be
Yes.
returning to it at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I will say it's really fun and rewarding if you have friends playing this game. Which thankfully you are my friend, but I have other friends that also have been playing this game, and so boy oh boy does it feel. It's got that level of like, okay, one more run, I know I can beat their score. Right. And it's great because one of the things they measure you on is, yes, time, but also swagger is a measurement. And so it's so cool to be James Bond and to pull off some of those, like, more often than not, moments in these tactical simulations where you were like, that was a movie. Like that was a freaking movie right there. Like that was so cool, sliding into a guy, shooting, and then jumping up and like throwing something, hitting the guy into a wall, and like it just, all of it can blend so well. And you sort of, it's almost kind of like a combat puzzle at certain points where you're like, okay, what is sort of the desired way? You can approach it any way you want, but what's the desired way that okay, I can see there's an exploding barrel right there, so I got to go to the left at the beginning of this one. Like really, really cool stuff. And they're a lot of fun. And I think they help stretch this game beyond that 19 to 20 hour mark. I remember when we first started hearing about this game, people were upset that it was sounding like it was about a 13-hour campaign. But I just think, like, honestly, it's like, it's even 13, even 19 to 20 hours of a really, really solid story-based game is worth it. You know what I mean? It still feels really, really good to play, and can beat some of those much, much longer games that feel like maybe that story wasn't as good in those, But
Yeah.
let's talk about the story, Darcy. I love that this is an origin story at its core, and it delivers that story so well, starting off with the training at MI6 and sort of getting to see how you progress as James is earning the trust of those around him, whether it's Greenway or M or Monroe and Cressida, and the way that all starts off compared to, by the time we get to Monroe's death, like I felt horrible. Like I was gutted by that. And, the stupid blonde twins, I was like, I'm going to get those guys. But, I think the story does such a good job of endearing you to these characters. And, I think a big part of that is a lot to do with, getting to do stuff outside of the missions, moving in with Monroe and Cressida and deciding between, what painting, what poster or painting are you putting up in the apartment? Did you go with I gotta ask, did you go with the painting, Cressida's painting, or did you go with Monroe's action movie poster?
The poster. I went with the poster. I mean, I'm sitting in a room full of posters right now, so I kind of lean that way anyways.
Yeah. I went with the painting just because, like, I was trying to impress Cressida because I thought that it would lead to like getting to do a mission with Cressida. But
man, you knew Monroe and Cressida were meant to be for each other. I'm like, I'll just sit back and watch. It's just a nice little sweet thing.
Eyes for Monroe, and then it all went terribly, terribly wrong. And oh my goodness. Was there an element of the story that you wanted to kind of highlight and touch upon that you really?
Well, I was just saying, like the way it starts off, I thought knowing Pierce Brosnan, GoldenEye being like one of like the Bond movies. When I think of a Bond movie, I was expecting kind of like the backstory for a 006 potential betrayal story, or something like one of these recruits is going to be the true baddie or whatever. And then when they all get blown up and die or maimed or whatever, I'm like, oh, this is going a different direction than I thought. And I was instantly gripped. And again, the way that they weave in the history of the original 00 like team and just Greenwich's whole thing. Like you hate him at first because he's this grumpy, curmudgeonly old trainer. And then when you get to know him and spend time and you see James just abrasively get him to open up with this charm, it's just, you love him so much. Again, the way you spend time with these characters and these cutscenes and these moments of calm speak so much, surrounded by these other moments of action and high intensity. It's so cool. I love this game. Again, like the Greenwich story, that whole thing really spoke to me, I think.
Yeah. Lenny James as Greenway is...
Greenway. I'm saying Greenwich. Jeez,
that's all good. It's a village, but but no, like the way that like he brings such a level of depth, to this already great cast, and I loved, like you said, he starts off as that reluctant instructor, and then as you earn his trust, we dig into his past. And I just love that they take the time to have a simple conversation at one point. They just, hey, can I have a word with you? Lean up against the banister and just talk to him about his past, or even during the mission when you're learning about his history with 009, the chemistry between Patrick Gibson, who plays James Bond, and Lenny, and how it evolves over the course of this game. Dude, Greenway's death was so tough, but like also like so what's the word I'm looking for? It just felt like it pushed James forward in that moment. Like it was beautiful in that way, that it did feel like it was like it had to happen for him to fully become 007 and just do what he feels is right. And that's the best part about Patrick Gibson, I think, in this role as well. I think he's so charming. It's weird though, because playing this game, dude, you know him. He looks so much like Nate Weir, who is a friend of ours, a local influencer slash cosplayer. You can look him up. I could not stop seeing him in this game. I've even told him, like, you need to cosplay as Patrick Gibson as Bond in this game because he just looks so much like him. But no, giving the right amount of attitude, the sort of hell with that vibes that he gives. But then you also see that heart at the same time. The quips, the one-liners. I think if they wanted to cast the next James Bond, they've already done it, to be honest with you, because I think he would be a phenomenal live-action James Bond, and I'd watch him for a decade as this character, to be perfectly honest with you, based on his performance. I just thought he was so good. I thought he was so good.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic, and again, the exploration of the character becoming 007. Like when you start the game, you can see the inklings of what makes him the spy that we love and always want to tell stories about. But by the end of the game, you believe it and really have become the character. And a lot of it is from his performance and then the story that they take on, the highs and lows of this character, the successes and the failures really shape who he is going forward. And you can see some of that in almost all the Bonds that have come before, which is really cool.
Yeah. I want to bring up some more of the performances. Before I do, though, I wanted to kind of chew on a thing, the AI elements in this story with Thea. I think the sort of the way that they're able to scale it to the point where they can do, I brought up the sort of like goofy side of James Bond. We have robots that attack you in this, but at the same time, it's also so incredibly scary, the idea of an AI, predictive technology like this being in the wrong hands and seeing how the wrong people, the wrong corporate greed will come into play to hide those mess ups. It's just it's very close to reality, to the point where I'm just like, we're learning more and more about the gaming industry and about big corporations laying off people to replace them with AI tech. And it's scary. It is legitimately scary. And the fact that this company was willing to not just sort of like softly touch upon it, they go full in on this AI side of the story. And I just thought it was so well done.
Well, I also like the way they do it too, because again, it's not AI is bad; it's AI used incorrectly is bad.
Yes.
Again, people refusing to admit that they were wrong, and then creating a terrorist to create or do all these calculations. And it was really cool. I will say again, it was not the story I expected when we started out, but the way that we go about finding it and covering it and stuff like that, and then eventually going to the point where we go rogue agent, which kind of happens in a lot of these Bond movies. It's part of the charm, is that he does what needs to be done, even if MI6 says don't do it, type thing. Like it's so cool that we get all those moments over the course of the story, and it leads up to such a very impactful real world kind of scenario almost.
Yeah. And that's the thing that, you're bringing it up. This story isn't just one James Bond movie stretched over the course of 20 hours, right? Or 19 hours, or however long it takes you to complete the campaign. It's like 4 different movies or 5 movies in one that they're paced so well. I think this game does such a good job of keeping you going. And at first I think I was a little complexed by the idea of like, these are the Hitman developers, but I can't hide bodies. But it works so much for the character of James Bond. He makes quick, rash decisions.
And you never stop and dwell. You're always moving.
You keep going. But at the same time, when the game does slow down and you get like that moment we talked about with Greenway leaning on the banister, you get the sequences in the apartment with Monroe or Cressida, or you get one of my favorite moments in the game is in Vietnam, right? And exploring the resort, the Pearl, and there's that gorgeous Teresa Lorca. Holy moly. That was like, wow. That was, I thought my screen was gonna light on fire. Like, oh my gosh, they definitely took their time with that character model. But I like, I like how that game, that section of the game, you play through it, things slow down, and then you get the message from Moneypenny in your ear. Hey, Teresa's heart rate has spiked. Okay, now you're running through this resort. Now you're going as fast as you can. You feel like, and then it clicks up and it catches up, and then you get a goofy James Bond sexy moment. And you know, I love Moneypenny, her reaction in that sequence as well. Like, I can still hear you. Like,
Yeah.
please turn it off.
Well, especially because like the flirtatious stuff between Moneypenny and Bond is, and like it's the thing that's happened since the beginning. So just
Love it.
seeing that built upon here, love the lore building.
Yes, and I gotta say, Kira Lester as Moneypenny throughout the game. She's young, she's up and coming, hyper competent. She's probably the smartest character in this game. You know, outside of
second
maybe
smartest.
Yeah, sure. There, who were you gonna say? Q.
Q.
Yeah, I agree.
Hands down.
Alistair McKenzie. Holy crap,
fantastic.
Dude. The moment when that's the moment after that sequence that I mentioned where he's teaching James how to tie a tie. Like, both of these actors, I think Alistair McKenzie and Keira Lester both do such a good job of giving a performance through hearing them. And the way that they sort of inflect and throughout the game, I just thought it was so good. When Moneypenny gets stabbed at the end, dude, I was ready to throw hands. I was like, she better not freaking die. I'm mad now.
Well, and you could tell James felt the same way. Again, like he's okay working with other agents, stuff like that. This is not an agent. You can't put her in the line of danger. She's like, he's the voice he always has in his ear. He can't lose her. I love how you can feel that in that moment. And again, going back to Q too, like he is just so cool, so badass. And like when they he's still in the lab and they're breaking in, you're like, oh no, I gotta go get Q. And just to see him dip away into that couch, and it's just like, why was I worried in the first place? I mean, this guy's just awesome. Of course, he knew how to get out of there.
He just lies on a couch and then
he gets eaten by the couch, and it's like, why was I worried in the first place? Q had it handled.
So cool, so freaking cool. Okay, I did want to bring up the celebrity cameo elephant in the room, because I think this is maybe the one person on the cast that just really just didn't work for me, and that's Lenny Kravitz as Bavma. Let's get into it.
It's not that he didn't work for me. I enjoyed when we got him. I just, from what I recall, the hype leading up to this, he was the bad guy in the new 007 game, and we get him for one chapter.
Yeah,
and that's it. And it just seems like a waste of the character because we didn't get much. We kind of got this like very theatrical, hokey performance, but we didn't get to see the mastermind behind that.
Yeah,
really at all, which is annoying. Yeah. So I'm glad that at least the DLC will be returning to this character, because I'm hoping that's when we'll get that true villain vibe, and that's what they were saving it for. Because again, it felt lacking. It was just like he popped up for a bit and then he was gone just as fast as he was there, and it was very forgettable.
Yeah, it was a strange sort of bait and switch thing, right, between him and then Damien's dad,
Stephen Bright,
right, and then Webb or whatever, and then
David Webb. Bright was Cress's dad,
and then and then Damien, right? But I think it was like, I felt like playing this game, it just really felt like Lenny Kravitz as himself a lot of the times, which I get it. He's supposed to have that rock star swagger. The character is supposed to be kind of a rock star kind of guy, but it never felt like he really became the character that they intended him to. And it just sort of felt like they just were like, he's Lenny Kravitz. Like, we're so happy we were able to get him in general. To add, this really cool element to the game. But I'm hoping, to what you're saying, in the DLC, I know that there can be more, because I've seen Lenny Kravitz do different characters that I've enjoyed from him before. It just felt kind of bland this time around, and it could have been so much more. Let's get to our final thoughts. Before we do, I do want to bring up the ending of the game. I'd love to hear your thoughts there. I think it's getting to see M award James with the 007 moniker as they stand at the foot of Greenway's grave is so well done. It's that second part of the passing of the torch, right, from Greenway. And the way they end it, dude, with the tuxedo walking out down the barrel of the gun,
the barrel shot was
blood dripping down. I was pumping my fist in the air. I was clapping.
Oh yeah, I had the biggest smile on my face. Like, I got to a certain point where I think I was 15 hours into the game when I had put it down, and then I picked it up one, I think Sunday afternoon. I think it was this last Sunday, and I played for 6 hours straight. I could not put it down. It was just the most gripping climax to a story, and you everything that led up to it was so. It felt so rewarding every step of the way, and then that again, the reasoning behind why he's 007. So, like, not because there were 6 of people with him. It's like, no, he was the 7th recruit. You can't forget the people who came and died or like left in the line type thing. Like, it's so cool to honor that, the whole Greenway thing. Like, oh, and then the barrel shot, I was, biggest smile on my face at the end, end of the game. And I just sat there listening to the music and watching the credits, and I was just happy. Like, it was such a fulfilling end to a game in the story.
It's so good. It's so good. And it really does feel like the beginning of what could be an incredible franchise. And I
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really hope, even with the licensing stuff that's going
With
on, the
Amazon
change
stepping
ups
in, yeah.
with Amazon stepping in. And I think there was some rumors and stuff that came out about Amazon, sort of potentially getting in the way of, but apparently that has been, somebody from Amazon MGM did come out and put out a statement saying like, no, 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 we are going to remain hands off. IO
Mm-hmm.
delivered something absolutely phenomenal. And so hopefully that can continue. Hopefully we don't get too many hands in the pot, because I would really adore the next chapter of this James Bond. Like to
Yes.
see, we got to see his first steps, the first light, if you right, but getting to see a full fledged like 00 story. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness.
Mm-hmm. Like, give me like a proper like supervillain, like the like not gray area mole or anything like that. Like just a proper arch enemy to set up for future stories, to always be a
Oh.
thorn on James's side or something like that would be really cool.
It's funny though, because as you said that, Darcy, I literally was like, and then we could get a moment where he's on the table and he's got a, oh wait, we
We
did
got
get
we
that
got
in
a
this
table
game.
moment,
We
man. We
got
got
a
a table
table moment.
moment.
Like
Oh
they
yeah.
just did so
They hit
much.
every part of this, the James Bond story and lore and tropes and all that. They do
Yeah.
everything at least once, or at least nod to it in a great way. Like
Yeah.
the collectibles of all the great gears and gadgets over the movies, like those legacy ones. Always fun to find those.
Yeah. Which again is like, I would be so intrigued to see how they could be even more creative going forward to maybe not just do some of those things again, and explore even further, even deeper into the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, we are getting that Bavma DLC. So hopefully, we'll get a little more story there, but hopefully it's not too long till we hear about a sequel in development. Darcy, we are coming up to time here. The mission is almost over. I want to know your final thoughts and rating for this game on a scale of 1 to 5 double O's.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that I had a fantastic time with this game. Again, we aren't like maybe the biggest or most knowledgeable Bond fans. We've always loved Bond, or have liked Bond for a while now. So getting to step into the shoes and really take on and understand and become Bond as Bond becomes Bond was a really enjoyable experience. And the way that IO injects everything they do so well with the Hitman series into Bond, but then elevates it and makes it fit a Bond story and pacing. This was a match made in heaven that I didn't know I
Oh,
needed. Because, like, again, I was saying I want more games from IO doing Bond, because it just works so well. They understand the character and how he would go about his missions and how to make his missions feel like you are the one actually making those decisions, which is so cool.
yeah.
So yeah, again, except for my minor issues with some combat stuff, and then again the whole Bavma, blandness of it all, if you will, like those were really my only, like, my biggest issues of the game. So this is a very solid 004.5 out of 5 from me.
So solid. Imagine that's
Like,
the moniker you end up getting, right?
yeah,
You're 004.5.
004.5. Oh,
Not quite.
man.
Yeah, you're not quite there.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm gonna bring us there, because as I said at the top, this is my favorite game so far of 2026. I think it's the best James Bond game by a mile,
Mm-hmm.
for me at least. And again, I understand people loving some of the previous entries, and obviously growing up and adoring GoldenEye and what have you. I get that, but this, for me, from a story perspective, from just everything they did to, like you said, make you feel like James Bond. Despite the minor gripes, like we mentioned, the Bavma stuff, the vehicular stuff, the crashes, some of that combat elements, and the somewhat lack of creative Q watch implementation outside of that incredible lab moment. I still think this is such an incredible feat from IO Interactive. And, when we heard about a Hitman game, or sorry, when we heard about the developers of Hitman, how they were making this game, it sounded too good to be true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have those conversations with your friends where it's like, insert next big IP game here, match made in heaven developer here. And it's like, oh, IO would be so perfect if that were to ever happen. And Darcy, we're
It
here. Mission
happened.
accomplished. It
And it worked.
happened, bro. And it worked. And I just really hope we see more.
Mm-hmm.
I love this game. I'm happy to give this a solid 5 out of 5 005s. That is it for our review and discussion for 007 First Light. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to share your thoughts on this game or any of the games or movies or series that we cover, well, I'm going to assign, using my Q Watch, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, I'm going to assign a new task to our most daring agent, 004.5 Darcy, so he can get you the intel on how you can reach us.
I already got to block missions from you. They're always so annoying. But they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if you're too old-fashioned and want to go to a Dropbox, or it's more anonymous, whatever, you can reach us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, or over on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Did the 007 movie, I can't remember, do the 007 movies also have, like, you know how Mission Impossible, like, they have, like, the stuff that, like, explode, like the phone that, like, explodes or something?
Yes, that's always a kind of a spy trope. Mission Impossible
Right.
does it over, like, kind of makes it their thing, but I'm pretty sure it happens at least once in a James Bond thing, or at least something melts it. I don't know.
All right. Well, keep in mind, we have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our most recent spoiler-free reviews for the live-action Moana, DC Studios' Supergirl, X-Men 97 Season 2, Toy Story 5, and Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day, as well as Masters of the Universe, Spider-Noir, Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu, and the Super Mario Galaxy movie. We got all the hot geek summer movie discussions going on. It's getting sweaty. It's getting geeky. We also have our recent Summer Games Fest discussion, where Darcy and I break down the upcoming games that we're stoked for, that were announced and featured during SGF week. And if you want even more gaming coverage from Geekcentric, we actually, have you ever wondered what it was like, or what it would be like, to help curate the game selection for a film festival, Tribeca Festival in New York? Well, we were joined by Casey Barron, senior programmer for Tribeca Games, to discuss the growing role of video games within Tribeca Festival and the evolving relationship between games and film. So be sure to check out that discussion, as well as all of our interviews, either here on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. We may possibly have more 007 First Light discussions coming in the future. Again, we will have that DLC, that Bavma DLC story mission that I know you, Darcy, and I will definitely jump through. So maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that in the future. But that is it for now. We're looking forward to so much more as it gets even hotter and geekier, with coverage for Spider-Man Brand New Day, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey coming up, Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday is happening. The new trailer for Dune Part 3 just dropped, which looks, holy moly, I want to watch that movie right now. Get that spice into my veins, bro. But Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for this origin mission of a review. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.